Hello, everyone. Welcome to LPTV Club, where we discuss various Disney-owned TV shows and recap them for you. On today's show, we're going to be talking about home economics, Mighty Ducks Game Changers, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Everything's Gonna Be Okay, The Simpsons, and Amphibia. So joining me, we have Tony.
Hello.
And Alex.
Hi, everybody.
And Marshall.
Hello.
Say hi eventually. There we go. Okay. Yeah.
I'm counting 4 seconds. 4 seconds on that one.
Not too bad. So I don't quite know where to start this time. I guess we'll start with The Simpsons just because I saw this episode and remember nothing about it. So Alex,
that's the mark of a good episode.
Refresh me.
I thought this was actually a really good episode. It's called Burger Kings, and kind of taps into the Impossible Burger slash what's the other one? All the meat-free burgers. Beyond Burger. So in this episode, Mr. Burns, faced with the end of his life because he's super de-duper old, and realizing that nobody in Springfield likes him or admires him, and they're actually disappointed when he doesn't die in a near-death experience. He decides he wants to do something good for mankind. And so by what he really does is have Professor Frink invent the best meat-free, plant-based burger ever. And at the unveiling, Lisa is the lucky person who's chosen to get to try it. And she becomes obsessed with these burgers and basically does a complete 180, goes from Mr. Burns is the worst person ever to Mr. Burns is a hero and an idol. And over the course of the episode, obviously, his burger is very successful. It almost puts Krusty Burger out of business. And Krusty Burger, one of my favorite jokes of the episode, is they make a joke about how Burger King became burger queer for the day, which I think is really funny. Like, you would expect them to become like Burger Queens or something. And I remember maybe it was 2 years ago in June, Burger King did like the Pride Whopper and it had like a rainbow wrapper. So I think that's what they were really making fun of. But at Krusty Burger, they did the LGBTQ BLT. And so Krusty's outside spinning this rainbow arrow with the LGBTQ BLT on it, trying to drum up some business, and no one's coming and everyone's just going to Burns's meat-free burger. But anyway, long story short, Bart is trying to convince Lisa Burns can't do this big of a 180. He can't be that good of a person. And they go to the plant where they make the meat-free burgers. And lo and behold, all of the plants they're sourced from are endangered plants from the rainforest that Earth needs. So it turns out by trying to do something good, Burns is destroying the lungs of the Earth. And, in the end of the episode, Burns's meat-free burger is no more. Homer, by the way, subplot, became the mascot of the meat-free burger and could only say certain approved words by Mr. Burns' blue-haired lawyer, who's a great side character on Simpsons. So in the end, at like a press conference, Lisa asks questions that Homer can answer, but leads them in such a way where he reveals that what they're doing is harming the rainforest to make these burgers.
I will say it took me a while into the episode to realize why the episode opened with Mac Tonight.
Yeah, so that was part of the fun of the episode, was all the jabs at other fast food mascots, including there was one part where Mr. Burns, like after he builds his fast food meat-free burger empire, he's sitting in his foyer, and it's portraits of him, but as other fast food mascots, including Wendy's with the pigtails and Colonel Sanders and all that. Do you have a question, Tony?
I did. Do you think this is going to be another one of those instances where Simpsons predicts the future and we're going to find out Beyond Burgers and all of those are actually Amazonian plants?
Nothing would surprise me.
Yeah,
sure.
Out of curiosity, does anyone have a strong opinion on Impossible versus Beyond?
I've not tried either.
I have tried both. I can't keep them straight. I don't know which is which.
Yeah,
I like them. I know that you're not cutting any calories by eating them, but you do have less guilt. I've seen. I love animals. I don't love them enough to not eat any of them, but like there's some that I won't eat. There's some that I try to eat less. Like I try and eat less beef because it's bad for the environment. So like when I make tacos, I do ground turkey. I try and use like ground turkey in place of beef as much as I can with my home cooking. So yeah, I like that these exist.
It's funny.
I'm not strong one or the other.
We went from ground beef to ground turkey for tacos, and now occasionally we'll get the Beyond patties from Sam's Club make on tacos. So it's all like the same thing. But anyway, let's talk about television. Let's see. Marshall, why don't you tell us about Mighty Ducks Game Changers? I haven't watched a single episode, but I feel like I should.
Me neither.
It's actually much better than you give it credit for. Also testing.
It's so
Am
good.
I laggy?
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Yay! Sorry to the tens of people at home going, why is Marshall delayed 3 hours? But it's okay. It was the third episode of Mighty Ducks. We're still early in the series, but we just came after the Don't Bothers, which is the name of the new team that has taken started out of the anger towards the Mighty Ducks we come to know and love and now hate. And they just had a really bad loss, as expected, when Lauren Graham is your coach and doesn't know anything of how to coach a hockey team. And we're trying to figure out a good way to still have fun as a team and not have the craziness of how children's sports are now, but also actually win, because winning is fun. Winning's great. Losing, not so much. So Evan, the main kid of the show, he's trying to recruit a Duck player to come on over and be the captain. Meanwhile, Alex is trying to recruit Gordon to take over coaching duties. And of course, neither of those things go as planned at the beginning because it's a sitcom. But then we end up with Gordon sneakily writing a play in Alex's coach playbook. And it leads to our beloved Don't Bothers getting their first goal of the season. And the mentalities shift. Eventually, Sophie comes over to from the Ducks to the Don't Bothers. And we get a little more into the knowledge that the Ducks have become a very toxic environment. Yikes. But otherwise, a good episode.
Is it bad when you said writing a play? I thought like musical. He was writing Beethoven's Ninth eloquently into the book. And then that's what they did on the ice. And that's how they got the play. Still an illegal hockey move. Anyway.
I will say there's a character... Flying. There's a character in here who really reminds me of me as a kid, but straight, and that's Nick. And I love Nick, and I come alive whenever he has a moment. And in this one, I really liked his subplot where he had a crush on the hot cocoa girl.
Hot as in the beverage being hot, not the beverage, sexy cocoa girl.
I mean, she was not an unattractive woman, but he was attracted to her. You know, and had this little boy crush going, and then his dreams were squandered because of the age gap. He'll never be with her, but that was a cute subplot.
Not only little boy crush, but also like trying to come for Maury's game. Like has a talk show on his career path, like talking to her, being like, "So why did he make you feel sad? Tell me." It was very. He must have watched the Oprah Meghan Markle interview and was like a little bit training to talk to people in his real life.
I see Mac thought I was going to talk about Logan. I was a lot more skilled on the ice. I did play hockey, had figure skating dreams, and my parents said, no, that'll turn you gay. So I played hockey.
Logan, though, is one of those characters where I look at him and I go, if I was like walking around a mall and you were there, I would run into a store out of sheer panic just because he's such a cool teen that I was like, I'm not worthy. I'm so sorry. I realize that I'm an adult, but your hair is too beautiful for me to be in the presence of.
I was far from a Logan as a kid.
This was up in Kenosha, right?
Yeah, I played hockey in Kenosha. I grew up in Racine, but the hockey rink I played at was in Kenosha.
I will always remember that moment between me and Alex where I just pulled Kenosha out of nowhere, and it happened to be where you're from.
And then it was Erie because it's close to where I grew up.
Yeah.
He's actually from Racine.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The bells.
Racing bells.
Yes.
The bells.
That's exactly why I remember it. Anyway, I am now going to talk about home economics, but even though we did have a new episode last time, I'm actually going to talk about just a quick overview of the first 2 episodes since we didn't get a chance to talk about it last week. So the basic plot of this show is that it's about 3 siblings, Connor, Sara, and Tom. And Tom is the narrator, kind of Carrie Bradshaw style. He's writing a book and narrating the show as a result. And they all are different economic tiers, let's say. The youngest brother, Connor, is rich. He just bought Matt Damon's old house in the Bay Area.
Like the show's title.
Like
economics. God, okay.
And Tom is more middle class. He's had some successes, but is currently, doing okay, getting by. And then Sara, the sister, is struggling a bit more, and she's just lost her job. But now that Connor's moving to the Bay Area, he actually lives like right near the Golden Gate Bridge, it looks like, and invites
in a place that's impossible to have a home. Just saying.
Well, Matt Damon can make it happen.
There's like army barracks down where his home allegedly is.
Whatever. There's also an indoor yard, so there's lots of things. So anyway, so this gives them a chance to kind of reunite, and they're having a little bit tough time reconnecting because of these differences and nervous about talking about money. But then, of course, they learn to love each other, and we discover in this episode that Connor is actually going through a divorce, so he's kind of single parenting it up at the moment, and so that kind of gives them a new perspective that even though he does have all this money, he doesn't have it all together per se. So that leads us into the second episode, where the main point of this one is that they're all been invited to a wedding for someone they all kind of know, but Connor knows them the best because he actually invested in this kid. This stupid product that he invented, but he made a lot of money on it. And of course, Tom could have invested and didn't. So he's kicking himself over that. So there's a couple different storylines going on here. First of all, Sara and her wife, when they got married, they didn't get to have a big wedding. And so now they're kind of reflecting on that as they are getting ready to go to a wedding. And meanwhile, Tom and Connor, since Tom is a writer, Connor's asked him to help write a toast for the wedding. And they're doing all sorts of versions of that. And the funniest one for me was Connor's like, what if we wrote it as if the marriage toast was a business proposal? And they actually do a pass at that. And it was really clever and kind of fun. But then, of course, at the wedding itself, things get a little out of hand when he goes to make the toast. Some of their personal problems are taking center stage and taking focus away from the bride and groom, which I suspect is not something you really want to do. And
to each their own.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Tom's wife has had a little too much wine without eating anything, so that also doesn't go very well. But yeah, in the end, it was a pretty funny episode. I think the show is fairly funny for what it is. I've actually seen 3 episodes now. Tony,
would you say it's the Modern Family replacement? They're trying to make it.
I don't really think it's Modern Family at all, honestly. Okay. I think it's got a lot.
But
of
I feel
fun
like that's
jokes.
the shoes that are trying to get it to fill. So
I think actually one of my favorite jokes, and I think it was in this episode, was they're Skyping with their parents, and Sara they're talking about not having a wedding, and she's like, oh yeah, every year on your anniversary I just post a picture of Ellen and Portia. And then she's like, Mom, when I got married, you didn't like tell anyone. And the mom's like, oh, we were all homophobic back then. Everyone was homophobic back then. So that was funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Home Economics. It's on Wednesdays where American Housewife used to be. So I end up seeing it anyway because I watched that entire block. So with that, Tony, why don't we talk about more cartoons, and you can tell us about your favorite show, Amphibia.
Oh, yes. My dear favorite show. No. My favorite show in terms of Disney Channel's currently on hiatus until next season. But yes, I watched Amphibia. Devotees will recall that they've already been to the first temple to recharge the first stone to get the music box back in play. So Anne, Marcy, and everybody can go home. But this time we go to the second temple loosely termed, because there isn't one, and we run into a recurring character. Apparently, again every week I have to wiki this show because I don't know. Everything's got a backstory to it, which is kind of cool, but also a hindrance. But so they go to the second temple, and a character named Valeriana is there, and we've seen her, I guess, previously at the Bazaar. And she basically puts Anne through trials to test her worthiness to get to recharge the second stone, which she does by proving herself not to be the selfish thief that they all think she is. And they're charging the second stone, and it's taking forever. And I really wanted them to make like dial-up modem jokes. They kind of like were going that way, but they didn't. And but it gets about maybe 4/5 of the way full. She goes, "Oh, that's good enough," and leaves. And then all we see is the stone flickering out. So again, we're gonna find out more about it later. And then that was the first cliffhanger. And then the second episode, we see their friend, whose name I'm absolutely not looking up right now, Sasha, the third human that got pulled to Amphibia. She's working with the Toads, and in order for she finds out that Anne and Marcy are working with the other residents of Amphibia and Newtopia, and she is absolutely furious that she's getting by without, or that they're getting by without her. So she teams up with the Toad to get the Barrel's Warhammer and prove her worthiness to lead a Toad rebellion. And they pull out the hammer. They're ready to go. It's very Thor-esque, but it's get pulled out of this giant narwhal creature that comes towards the kingdom to barrel it down. And she drops it and says, as requested. She gets put in charge of a Toad rebellion, and end of episode. So 2 cliffhangers before next week. We don't know what's going on. So a faulty stone and a Toad rebellion that's starting. We'll find out.
Amphibia.
Yep.
Really, I wanted to sing narwhals swimming in the ocean.
Well, when it woke up, when they tried to get the hammer out, I really wanted it to just pop up and be like, "Hi, buddy," but it didn't do that. So
hey guys.
Yep.
Well, the biggest takeaway I think from this week's Amphibia is congrats to Brenda Song on being a new mother.
I always forget that's her doing the voice too. But yes.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is. Someone had to do it. Yep.
Yeah. That's the baby daddy.
Well, we have 2 more shows to talk about. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I feel like I've talked to death about already. So I'll prepare myself for that while Alex talk to us about Everything's Gonna Be Okay on Freeform, right?
On Freeform. It's the second season, just premiered last Thursday. A brand new episode comes out tonight. I'm sorry, my dog is begging to go outside, and just in the interest of making sure it's not an emergency, I'm going to do that. So Everything's Going to Be Okay. How much do you guys know about the show? Anything?
I know
it's a Falcon and a Winter Soldier.
Nope.
Someone's on the spectrum. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. So I'll just kind of quickly recap the premise of the first season. It's created by Josh Thomas. He's an Australian comedian. His show from Australia called Please Like Me is on Hulu. I recently binge watched that and loved it. Everything's Gonna Be Okay so he plays a 20-something guy whose dad left him and his mom when he was younger, and he remarried, moved to LA, and started his own family and had 2 daughters there. So in the beginning of the first season, he's in LA visiting his dad when his dad tells him not only does he have a very terminal cancer, but he only has a couple days left, and he wants his son to basically be the guardian of his kids because his other wife has passed as well. So these girls are teenagers. The eldest one is on the spectrum, and they have no other adult figure in their life. So kind of rapidly, he goes from having these half sisters that he sort of knows to being their guardian. I should say this is a dramedy. It's more comedic than it ever is dramatic. And over the course of that season, it's really him, kind of learning the ropes, figuring out how to be somewhat of a parent in a way that makes sense for him, which is part of the fun of it. At the end of the first season, Matilda, who was the older daughter who's on the spectrum, she wanted to be an actress. She had got into Juilliard. They got her to New York, and she had a complete breakdown and couldn't do it, and they ended up going back home. So this season starts with that. Also, Matilda was experimenting a little bit with sexuality last season. She had a boy and a girl who were her two good friends at school. And the boy kind of freaked out and left the room, leaving the two girls alone. And so they ended up becoming girlfriends. But now she's coming to terms with the fact that she might not actually be into women. And two new characters who came into play with the first two episodes of the season. They did a double premiere, are Drea's parents. And I'm a huge fan of both of them, Maria Bamford and Richard Kind. I'm more a fan of Maria Bamford, but they're so funny in these roles. Obviously, they have a very neurotic daughter, and they are very neurotic as parents. And in the second episode of the two that premiered, also I should say that they brought the pandemic into this. So the world that they're living in is such that they have to be social distancing. So Matilda and Drea are having like a backyard date. The Josh Thomas's character and his boyfriend Alex are trying to offer Maria Bamford and Richard Kind mojitos, but have like a socially distant thing where like they're still in their car and they're sitting on their backyard fence. Anyway, the girl comes up upset because she just, sort of got broken up with, but Matilda still wants to be friends with her. And so Maria Bamford just has this moment. She's like, what's going on? She's not gay? Like, it's so funny. I love it. I highly recommend that show. The entire first season obviously is on Hulu. So if you have the Disney bundle, you can go back and catch up on that. And then I also really recommend Please Like Me. Both of Josh Thomas's shows are very unlike anything that's on TV. And Everything's Gonna Be Okay is my favorite show Freeform has ever done, or ABC Family, going back to the history of Disney's ownership of the network. Not my favorite Fox Family thing. That would be S Club 7.
Okay.
Ooh,
Yeah.
my answer would have been So Little Time, but I accept S Club 7 as your preferred Fox Family show.
Yeah. And I liked the first season of S Club better
How'd that
than the
theme
second.
go, Alex?
S Club.
There it is. Okay.
Ain't no party
There
like
ain't
an
no
S
party
Club
like an S Club party.
Oh, everybody get down tonight.
You mentioned how they worked in the pandemic this year. I think it's actually been really interesting to see which TV shows do that and which ones just ignore it. Like American Housewife ignored it. The Connors definitely embraced it. All the medical shows, except for like Good Doctor, didn't it do like a couple of episodes and then just went by it?
I don't watch that one, but General Hospital ignored it, but then awkwardly shoehorned it into the nurses' ball this year, which was fun. And then, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say Raven's Home. Disney Channel airs things out of order, but Raven's Home has tried to put it in. But what's happening is like in the background, you'll see like kids with the mask on, but under their chin. And so it's like everyone in the cafeteria and then the main cast never ever has masks. And so it's like, what message are you actually sending? Because the core kids that you're watching never ever touch a mask or put one on. But then everyone else has it like on under their chin, never over their nose and mouth. So it's a really weird.
That's what I was going to say.
I don't
about,
understand
like,
the reasoning
the
behind
Connors and like A Million Little Things. There's so many instances where, they might wear a mask to go up to talk to somebody and then take it off as soon as they get to talk to the person. It's like, just do one or the other. Like, at least with the medical shows, they can get away with, having like big suits on and stuff that they're like that. But yeah, they really need to choose one way or the other.
Vulture had a great piece a couple weeks ago that was like, can TV shows make a decision about the pandemic? Either go all in or just pretend it doesn't exist. What is the name of Josh Thomas's boyfriend on the show again?
The character's name is Alex. He's a dentist. He was trying to be a dentist, and then his career didn't go the way he wanted.
Famously was in a Zoom Pride rave with him last June. And he got
cool.
all into it full, but he's phenomenal. He's wonderful.
Nice.
We love him.
Yeah. Yeah, I really am a big fan of that show. I recommend everyone check it out.
Well, Max says he would pay to watch Tony recap Marvel comics without any prior context. So you might have to have him on Marvel Time and do guess the cover like I did.
Oh no, I'd do it.
But that leads us to our final show tonight, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I'm going to be looking at my notes for. I'll just warn you now. So this episode actually started off in Wakanda as a flashback where we see Bucky and Io, and she's reading off his code words, and they're not working on him. She managed to deprogram him. For a second, I thought they were going to pull a thing where it was kind of like the genie, like, I wish for your freedom. Like, you found a real loophole, because she says, now you're free. Like, your mission after I type in all these things is to set you free. But that's not quite what happened. So anyway, we go back to present day, and
is present day not present day?
Who's to say? I think it's actually technically in the future, because this is post snap, and the snap was 5 years. And Mac, help me. Where are we in time? Is this a couple years after us? I think it's a couple years after us.
Or is it post Snapchat or pre Snapchat?
I think they got behind. I think for a while they were in the past, and now with the jump, we're in the present.
So they still don't know if this is the last season of Grey's Anatomy yet. Okay, got it. Dang, I wish I knew. I wish I could call up Falcon right now and ask.
Not until Meredith's gone.
I know, I'm on the edge of my seat.
So anyway, in this episode, Zemo needs to, they need to get in touch with Carly of the Flag Smashers, and figure out why she's doing what she's doing, try to get her to stop. And they're not having any luck finding where this funeral is that they know Carly's going to be at. And Zemo takes to offering random children Turkish delight, and they not only take it from him, but also tell him secrets. And I'd like to thank my co-host, Mac, for telling me we are indeed in the future. And everyone has this scroll. So yes, Zemo gives these kids candy. They tell them where the funeral is, and Sam actually has a conversation with Carly, and it seems like things are going well. But then John Walker, who is the new Captain America, much to everyone's disgust, breaks in and ruins things. And this leads, they find super soldier serum. Zemo destroys most of it, but John Walker takes a vial of it and pockets it. So later, I forget how to say it, but the people from Wakanda, the warriors, show up, and they want to capture Zemo. Bucky and Sam are trying to say that they should wait because they still need him for their help. And then once again, John Walker gets in the way and gets his butt kicked by Io and another one of the warriors from Wakanda. And this convinces him, it seems, to become a super soldier and take the serum, because he gets his butt kicked and they weren't even super soldiers. Yeah, I know how to.
I really hate
it.
that
I don't
man.
know how to say it.
Dora Milaje.
Milaje, yes.
The Dora Milaje, I think is what it was.
I think I bought my girlfriend a handbag by then.
So John Walker does take the super soldier serum, and Carly needs to talk to Sam, so she actually calls his sister back in New Orleans and kind of threatens her. You can kind of tell she doesn't want to, but she needs to get in touch with him and show him that she's serious. And then the way this episode ends is that there's a big fight, and John Walker's partner gets killed, or seemingly gets killed. And then John chases down one of the Flag Smashers, and don't know if he decapitates him or
smashes his flag. Okay.
Pretty much.
Goodness.
Yeah, thank you.
Gracious, I'll be here all week. Try the deal. Thank you. Okay.
But yeah, things don't go well, and the last shot of the episode is him with a bloody shield. So that was definitely the Cliff Notes version. For much more, you can watch Marvel Mondays with my wife and with Mac, or you can listen to this week's Acts of Life. But that was basically it. It was a pretty intense episode. We only have 2 left, so interesting to see what's ahead. But
I do not like John Walker.
Well, I have to say I had some sympathy for him in this one, or at least more of an understanding. I think it's a really interesting character, if nothing else. But yeah, kind of blows a lot of any good faith that he may have gained.
They told us Baron Zemo was the villain. but I think John Walker is the villain. Baron Zemo has been a delight. He's giving kids candy.
He might not be.
Also,
he was a villain in Civil War.
I was always told if guy's giving kids candy, that's a villain.
That's probably a bad thing. Also, Turkish delight is such a weird choice, and all I think about is Madonna when I hear it.
Really, I was gonna say it's Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe.
Yeah.
Well, Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe is probably the first. Yeah, Narnia
why
is probably
Madonna,
the first place I ever
Alex?
heard of it. Okay, so she did this album called Hard Candy, maybe like 2004, 2005, and the
4
title
minutes
song
is on that one, right?
Yeah, 4 minutes is from that album. The title song that kickstarts it, she's singing like, "Come on into my store, I've got candy." And then like the only candy that she actually lists off is Turkish Delight. And she says it like 20 times in the song.
Well, at least she's not rapping about a soy latte.
Yeah. Ugh. Or redoing Vogue, but gonna eat some fried food. I don't know if you saw that during the pandemic. That was awful. Don't
Unrelated story about Madonna. Well, kind of, because you said 4 minutes and it made me think. 4 minutes I played at 11:56 p.m. December 11th, 2012, and I was gravely mistaken. So,
well, before we
4
go,
minutes to save the world with Jay Timberlake.
I would like to say this episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier did have a real lack of Sara Haines, which I think made the quality go down.
Yeah, I do miss Sara Haines, which she's not a real GMA reporter, so that was
the host of
weird.
The Chase?
Yes.
Okay.
She well,
I got one.
Woo! I think
you know a thing.
Is that she was hosting GMA 3 probably when they were filming, and then it got canceled by the time it aired, so it just looks weird because it's like, you don't belong there anymore. Go back to The View.
But which version of GMA 3? It went through like 5 name changes while she was on it.
Just a moment of silence for Strahan, Sara, and Keke, please. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I agree. That was the best version, and I'm always bitter. I make fun of it every time because my wife usually has ABC on just all day, just in case something's happening. And the reason that they initially took away Strahan's Keke or Sara and Keke is that they replaced it with the what you need to know, like pandemic, what you need to know.
Yeah.
And they still call it GMA3, what you need to know. So whenever they just show some puff piece, I'm like, oh yeah, really needed to know that. Can't be watching Keke because of this. But
Keke Palmer for all the roles. Everyone else doesn't deserve anything. Sorry, cast of Trial of the Chicago 7. Give your Oscars to Keke Palmer. My goodness.
Well, with that,
Of all the titles that I was expecting to hear, that was not the one I was at all.
Does anyone have any television recommendations? What's Keke Palmer on this week?
The Proud Family hasn't been announced yet, so while we wait for that,
It's been announced. I don't think dates or anything though.
Right.
Have been.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Tony, anything to recommend for our audience?
I'm stuck in the 90s still, so I've been watching a lot of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, the game show, not the cartoon, not any of these reboots, and also news radio. But
Nice.
fantastic,
Alexander?
underrated show.
I am going to plug Big Shot, premieres tomorrow on Disney Plus. I love that show and highly recommend it.
When will we hear about that show?
I've already said everything. We will do. It'll be on Disney TV Club, LP TV Club next week.
Yeah.
But I've already written everything I can write about it. I think
Everything.
I'm tapped.
Okay.
I do like me some Yvette Nicole Brown. So
She is so good in this.
and all the
former
Oscars
coworker.
for Nomadland can go to Yvette Nicole Brown.
Frances McDormand, you have enough.
Sorry.
What about the director? I tossed the director that one.
Chloe Zhao.
Chloe Zhao. Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I give it to Lee Isaac Chung from Minari. Wait, can you see it? Stream Minari on that sign right there on the middle of my wall. Anyway.
Wow.
anyway, Marshall, do you have any TV recommendations for the coming week, or just
I'm guessing
in general?
Minari.
Well, that's on TV, however. Stream Minari. I am excited for Big Shot, even though I haven't watched it yet, so that'll be fun to watch tomorrow. And although it's unscripted, my beloved Bean, Beane, contestant on Idol this season made it. So I'm looking forward to Idol this week so he can make it further. Also, they're doing some bizarre thing where all of the finalists from last season are coming back to perform, and then
To see
America
if anyone remembers them?
basically, because their argument is none of them got time on the big stage, which is valid because they all got stuck at home. So
Is that
America's
the plot twist?
yes,
Katy Perry keeps promising a plot twist in
that's
all
the
the
plot
ads.
twist because all of
It's a reality show. There is no plot.
think you've learned reality editing 101 because
No.
RuPaul's Drag Race would love to tell you a plot about who we should be liking and who we shouldn't. But Monday, America votes in one of last year's finalists to rejoin this year's competition in hopes to become American Idol. So we'll see how that goes.
Do we know what happened with the Wyatt kid yet? Why he dropped
All
out?
we know is that he left for family reasons. He Instagrammed that today. Left for family reasons, which is still vague.
Was he someone you were cheering for?
Another Madonna song.
Absolutely not. I couldn't stand him in that hat. It's like when he put the hat on, he turned into a Mumford and Sons cover band. When he took it off, he became a little more genuine, but that $2 bill, maybe he used that to get his plane ticket home. I mean, I wish him the best, but I'm happier with him not on my
Spirit.
screen.
Cool.
Very much. He was
If
Frontier,
it's a $2
Mumford
bill,
and Sons.
Frontier,
Yeah.
Frontier, that's the other one.
Well, I should tell
If
you.
you want a snack or a water, you have to pay extra.
Yeah.
That's why you need the 5, not the 2.
Shucks.
So
Cashless payments only.
coming up on Laughing Place tomorrow, Mike will be at Universal Studios Hollywood, assuming he finally gets Disneyland tickets today.
Fingers crossed for that, yes.
Yeah. Well, Tony's covering the Annie Awards tomorrow night.
All night long.
So that'll be fun. Those are the animation awards in case you're
Yes.
it's not
It's not an award for
You won't see it on ABC Sunday at 8. No,
it's not for Sarah Jessica Parker and
Andrea
McArdle. It's not
Don't
those.
get your gun.
What about a Jay-Z Christmas release?
Quvonjane will be there, weirdly enough. Not nominated, but
I couldn't remember her name. I knew one of you would pull through.
Quvonjane
Thank you.
Wallace will be there. You're welcome. She is one
All right.
beast of the Southern Wild. Am I right? No one? Okay.
All right. Well, should we go out with a TV club or anything like that?
I'm leaving it to those two down there.
Thank you.
Ain't no party like an Esco party.
LP.